Okay. If you don't have any questions, then just let me open up the class notes. So in yesterday's class, we have seen how to create LWC component, right? We have just created the hello world component. In Lightning Web Components, how to create LWC component. So we have created one project in Visual Studio Code, and then we connected that to our developer arc. From the LWC folder, you can just, this is the classes folder, you can create new classes if you want, or from the LWC folder, when you right click, you will get an option, create Lightning Web Component. This is how we can create the Lightning Web Component. Okay. Then when you create the Lightning Web Component, guys, automatically it will create few files inside that component. This we call it as a Lightning Component Bundle. So in Lightning Web Components, we call it as a Lightning Web Component Bundle. Okay. So what all the things that are present in Lightning Web Component Bundle is, the first thing is the test folder. Okay. So test folder. And the second thing that you can see is the hello world.html. Okay. So you can simply mention inside the test folder. If you see it, there is one file. Okay. Inside this, if you see it, there is one file, hello world.test.js. Okay. Okay, let's assume we have created hello world component which contains below files in a bundle. The first thing is the test folder which contains hello world.test.js, your component name.test.js. Okay. And the next thing is your HTML file. That is nothing but the hello world.html. This is your second file, hello world.html. And the third file which gets created for you is the hello world.js. Okay. And the fourth thing is the hello world.js hello world.js hyphen meta.xml. We call it as a meta file. Okay. Hello world.js hyphen meta.xml. Okay. These are the four major files which present in the Lightning Web Component bundle. Okay. So the same thing you can also, this is the Lightning Web Component bundle, guys. The same way I'll show you how can you learn Lightning Aura component bundle also. Like even though if you don't know the deep knowledge on Lightning Aura components, the basic concepts you can just compare and learn it. Okay, how when we are learning the LWC, how it might be in the Aura bundle. Okay, like that we can just have a simple comparison so that you will get the basic idea on Lightning Aura also. So it's something like that, guys. As I have explained you, right? Initially we have Visual Force pages. Okay, whenever you wanted to do any customizations, especially these Visual Studio Code or Lightning Aura components or Lightning Web components, these coming into the picture whenever you just want to use the customized functionality that is not possible with the flow, whatever the UI or whatever the experience that he would like to see, that is not possible to do with the flow, then we will go with the customization, guys. Let us assume, okay, he want to have a form, okay, account record form, which captures the accounts information, okay, and he would like to have that form from different pages, okay. In such cases, and that form should have some images inside it, some company images, URLs, and background color should be different. Like, it's not a standard Salesforce account details capture record. He wanted it in a customized manner. That is the case, obviously. Whenever we want a custom UI, that is the use case, we will go with the Lightning. Initially, when we were working with the Classic, around 8 years back, we don't have Lightning, guys. Okay, we were in Classic only. That time, we were using mostly Visual Force pages. Then can't we use Visual Force pages in Lightning? No, it will not support Visual Force pages. I mean, there are some tags in the Visual Force pages. So it will not support all those tags in the Lightning experience. So that's the reason they came up with the concept of Lightning Aura components. But Aura components has the performance issues. That's the reason they came up with the Lightning Web components. And this was introduced around I can say from the last 5 years, we have Lightning Web components. Okay, so that's the reason most of the projects, they are starting projects or they were in middle. Most of the projects are using Lightning Web components. So you can say I have experience on Lightning Web components only, but I have a basic knowledge on Lightning Aura components. So let me log into the Aura component, guys, and I can show you what are the different uh, bundle components. Like, they will ask you this question in the interview. So what is the Lightning Web Components bundle contains? What are the files? The same way, then we will explain about these 4 files, right? So then immediately they will ask you, what are the bundles contain Aura component bundle contains? Do you have any idea? Then one thing is, we cannot say, no, I don't have experience. See, might be we did not get a chance to work on the Aura components, but there are some basic things like what is the how to create Aura component and what are the different files which are present in the Aura component. Like, these are some small basics, so that you have to tell them. Okay, so let me log into my Arc. I'll show you. Yesterday we have seen how to create LWC components, right? So how to create Aura component? There is 2 ways. We have a folder in Aura. Okay. Yeah, there is a folder of Aura from the Visual Studio. Here you can create the Aura component. Okay. Create Aura component. This is how you can give sample Aura component. Okay. And another way you can create is, okay, Aura component created successfully. When you create the Aura component, guys, you will see multiple files. These we call it as a Aura bundle files. Okay. We have around 9 files. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So these we call it as a Aura bundle files. Okay. Aura components can be created from the Visual Studio Code. The same way you can create from the Arc also. Okay. So I'm just logging into the art. You can go to the developer console, Aura components, and we have some Apex classes, whatever the development we do, right? Visual Force pages, everything we can create from the developer console or Visual Studio Code. Okay. So we can create from the both the places. Whereas LWC components is the one we can create only from the developer, only from the Visual Studio Code. So file new. This is the way you will get the things. In case of lightning component is nothing but the Aura component. Okay, here. Lightning application is nothing but the lightning Aura application. Okay. So on Visual Force pages, Visual Force components, these were we used to use in the classic versions. Okay. Nowadays, nobody is using Visual Force components, guys. Visual Force components are replaced by the lightning components. Like Visual Force components we were using when we had classic. Okay. But still Salesforce is supporting it. If you want, you can create it, because still there are some business users, they're still using classic. But most of the business users, 90% of the business users, they moved into the lightning. So I don't see any interview. They were asking much questions on Visual Force, guys, or Visual Force components, static resources. None of the things they were asking. They were asking questions on the lightning and lightning applications, lightning components. Okay. All these things they were asking. So if you click on lightning component, here it will ask you what is the name and description, and the lightning tab, lightning pages, lightning record pages, like what and all places you would like to use this component. Okay. So create bundle with any of the following configurations, and it is optional. So once you create this one, if you don't give any of these things, then the component you cannot use it in anywhere, guys. You have to, you have to mention that. Okay, let's see what will happen if you try to create a component. Okay, I'm creating a test component here. Okay, if I click on lightning tab and click on submit, see the same thing, component bundle files which gets created, implements for app hostable. Okay, it is nothing but you can use it in the application. That means you can use inside the applications. Inside the applications, what we will have tabs only, right? That's the reason. And if you wanted to make it, let me just file and let me open the component, test component. So open, I can go to the lightning components, you cannot access from the simply open, guys. You can access from the open lightning resources. Okay. Here you will see your lightning components. I'm just clicking on the text and click on open selected. Okay. And if I click on the bundle version settings, this is this one. File, open lightning resource. Test component.cmp open. So this will also directly open up the component file, and the open resource will open up the bundle, lightning component bundle files. Okay. So I just opened up the lightning component, force app hostable. Okay. Depending on the thing that you have given it here, implement functionality, That will decide what all the different places you can use your components. Okay. So if I go to new and if I try to create another lightning component, okay. Now I'm going to give lightning tab and lightning pages. I'm just giving test component 1 and clicking on. Let me give another one is also, and let me give another one also. And experience filter site pages. Okay. So this is the force app hostable and flexi pages. Okay. Available for all pages. Like if you give this one, then only it is available. You can add it for all your record pages. We have account record page, contact record page, like opportunity details page, right? If you want to add any component to the record pages, then you have to implement this interface. Like depending on the checkboxes you are checking, this code is automatically generated for you guys. Okay. Available for home page. Okay, that means it can be used for home page. And force has a record ID. It can be used for record IDs. And available for all page types. Force community. This is nothing but experience sites or community portals. If you wanted to use it, you can use it. Like community portals and experience sites. These are the another community cloud we have, guys, for the sites building and all. They inside that, if you wanted to use, you can use it. Or else lightning quick actions. You know, right? We can create buttons and actions. If you go to the object, you will see an option of buttons and actions. So whenever you are trying to create a button, obviously it will ask you on click of this button, you want to call Apex class or Aura component or flow, like that, you will get the options, right? So this component will be visible as part of that list if you have this interface implementation. Force colon lightning quick action. Okay. So this is the one, implements is the one which decides. To simply say, in Aura components, implement is the one which decides where we can use this Aura components. Okay. So there are few interfaces. Okay. We have to implement, and depending on those interfaces, we can use this Aura component. Okay. Now coming to the LWC. Okay. We have 4 files, right? Meta.xml is the one which decides the same functionality. Okay. In meta.xml, we have hello world.js. So actually, Aura bundle has all these things, guys, but it's not mandatory to use all these files, but you have to use the component. Component is nothing but your HTML structure, guys. So in Aura, we have a component file. In LWC, we have HTML file. The major difference between the Aura and the LWC is, if you want to understand the Aura, guys, the first thing is you have to know about this particular Aura language. Okay. It's kind of component, controller, helper, style, documentation. You have to learn about. And a person who knows, who don't have any Salesforce knowledge, okay, it is difficult for him to understand these terminologies. Okay, component, controller, helper. Okay, these terminologies it is difficult for them. And the another thing is, we have to Aura components is something like that. For each and every tag you are going to write, it should happen with the Aura. Otherwise, it won't identify. Okay, things. It won't identify native JavaScript language. Okay, you have to follow its own syntaxes. Okay. Because generally LWC or Aura or Visual Force pages, whatever we develop, Why we develop, guys? Generally for the customized front-end UI things we develop, right? So for the customized front-end UI thing, if you're a person who, obviously the people who have good knowledge on JavaScript, HTML, they can build very good front-end tools. Okay. But in case of Salesforce, in case of Aura and Visualforce pages, even though you are very good expert in the JS, you cannot build the front-end pages. Why? Because in Aura and LWC, they don't support the JavaScript functionalities or Java functions. They are not going to support directly. We can call it as a JavaScript. We can call it as a ECMAScript, guys. It has different versions. Okay. I can say the terminology is also different, but I would like to share you what one image, because basically they will ask you, we have Aura, right? Why should we go with the LWC? That is what basic question we will get. Okay. The other thing is Visualforce to Lightning. Obviously, it's for Lightning support. So we can use Lightning components because Visualforce pages tags are not supporting Lightning. So we can say multiple things, but Lightning versus Aura. They will ask you, okay, anyway, Aura is there, right? Then why you came up with the Lightning web components? Okay. So you can just click on Lightning versus Aura. Okay. So let me just click on this image. So I'm just trying to bring a good image for you so that you can easily understand. Okay. You can just take this image. Paste in our class notes. Okay. So let's start with our first point, guys. So Aura components are building using the HTML and JavaScript. Okay. And they are comparing with the VS is nothing but Visual Studio Code, guys. Okay. Whether it is like using VS Code framework, we can create both Aura and LWC components. Okay. That is what they just mentioned. They don't give you very clearly, but these are like high level, guys. Okay, high level points, but I can explain you one by one point. Then LWC is built directly on the web stack. Okay, So web stack is nothing but, again, I'll show you an image of web stack so that you can understand very clearly. So 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 web stack is nothing but the different functionalities that we can do using our browser, guys. Okay. So web stack is nothing but the browser. Okay. Chrome browser or like Internet Explorer or Mozilla Firefox. Okay, all these are different browsers, right? On these browsers, what are the things that we can do using the web stack? So here in 2014, that time, what we have is this one, ECMAScript 5, ECMAScript 7. Okay, 2019, the web stacks got improved. So ECMAScript 5, ECMAScript 7, these are nothing but kind of versions, guys. For example, for Salesforce, each release we are going to change something, right? So as you know, what language browser can understand, guys? Browser can understand only a default Salesforce language, sorry, a default HTML language, okay, and JavaScript language. That's it. Apart from that, browser can't understand any other languages, okay. If you take any web page that is designed in any language, okay, finally, it will render into the HTML and JavaScript. That's it. Apart from the HTML and JavaScript, browsers cannot understand any other languages. So as part of the JavaScript, we have events, on change event, on click event, right? Like that, we have some events, some custom events we can write, some standard events we can write, and rendering. Rendering is nothing but the, like, depending on some show and hiding the components, depending on some values. Okay, that is nothing but the rendering. All these, I mean, all these services that generally supported by the browsers. And apart from that, using these JavaScript and events, we can connect to the backend services like data services. We can connect to the database and get the values and display to the UI. Those things will be there. Okay. Then everything like front end thing, we can just write the JavaScript event, and from that event, we just have to call all these are the backend technologies, guys. Like if you want to insert the data or if you want to get the data, for everything, you need to write the backend code. In case of Apex, it's Apex code. In case of Java, it's a Java code. Only through the HTML and JavaScript. You cannot directly interact with the database. No, that is not possible in 2014. Later on, in 2019, these web stack, that means through the HTML and JavaScript itself, you can do so many things. Okay. So like it came up with a web components concept. Like web components concept means you can just previously it was something like that, all pages only, guys. So you cannot create a small component and you can use it in multiple things. That is not possible. But in 2019, that is possible. From 2019 onwards, there were many changes. Here, only for the data services are special services. Special services are nothing but just doing its own functionalities. Like in case of Salesforce, we are going to call the flows and all. That is nothing but the special services. But most of the previously templates and UI components, data services, component models, modules, these are the ones, right? These web stack functionalities are increased a lot, guys, along with the standard events, custom events. Okay, we can also came up with the concept of decorators. Okay, and they can also came up with the concept of shadow DAM. Also, they can also came up with the concept of templates. Like these are different new UI technologies they came up. So using these technologies, okay, using these template technologies, what it will do is you can inside the HTML JavaScript file. Previously in 2014, right, what was happen is inside the JavaScript file, you were able to write only JavaScript code. That is where like functions, those are the things you can write. Okay, in HTML tags also it should be HTML. Start with the HTML tag and end with the HTML tag. If you write something else on your HTML file, then it don't understand anything. But now it can understand. And one thing I understand now is I have been confusing you guys that I can understand. So only one thing you can assume, guys. Previously, we used to our browsers once upon a time around 2014 time. Let me just open up a notepad and I'll give you a quick example related to this web stack. You need to understand this web stack changes, guys. Then only you can easily understand the LWC. Okay, around 2014, inside the HTML file, okay, you have to write HTML only. Okay, you have to write like this. Okay, whatever, if the file extension is HTML, now I have a concept of template. Okay, but in 2014, if you write any tag like this, your HTML file can't understand anything. Because of that, what we have to do is, that is not supporting whatever the UI thing you need to implement. It should be HTML and a basic JavaScript. Okay, but the problem is using the HTML and basic JavaScript, you cannot connect to the Salesforce. That doesn't have that features. Okay, That's the reason when we were in 2014 and before that, we were using only Visual Studio Code. Okay, VS Code. That is also a language, UI language that is built by Salesforce team. Okay, like how we have the HTML and JavaScript for the front end pages, Salesforce has built its own language. Okay, they just make it as a Visual Studio. Sorry, they just make it as a Visual Force pages. Let me show you a sample Visual Force page, guys. Okay. Sample Visual Force page. How to create a basic Salesforce. Whenever they have a customization requirement, Salesforce can't directly write some code inside this HTML components, guys, in 2014. That's the why, because HTML components supports only HTML tags, and using that HTML tags, obviously we cannot do any other functionality. Like we cannot call Salesforce or we cannot call anything like that. So that is the reason what sales that time to do the customization, Salesforce has came up with the language of Visual Studio Code. That is also looks like this only, guys. Like that is also looks like a HTML tags, but it's each thing you have to append with the apex colon. Then it will understand like, okay, this is the Visual Studio Code. Nowadays you don't require, but if you want to display the output, normally in the HTML, what we will give? We will give output tag, right? But in Visual Studio Code, you have to give apex output. Okay. If you want to display input field, normally in the HTML, we will give input, right? But in Visual Studio Code, you have to give apex input field. Then only it will understand, okay, this is something input field. What they will do is, when you load your pages in the browser, in backend, they will convert it into the Apex. They have a code. Salesforce has a backend code for this field. So it will convert and rendered into the normal HTML. Okay. This is single line of code, right? Then if you see in the backend, it will generate 4 or 5 lines of code for you. Okay. That's the reason there is a delay. So I have written 1 line of code, and in the backend, the first thing is I can write inside the Salesforce only. I can write Visual Force pages, guys. Previously, I can't write Visual Force pages outside the Salesforce, and people who have knowledge on HTML or JavaScript, they can't easily understand the Visual Force pages code. Why? Because of it has its own syntaxes. Okay, it has its own syntaxes. The same way, this code, when Salesforce came up with the concept of Lightning, this is not supporting the Lightning versions. Okay, that's the reason what they just made it is, instead of Apex, they just made it as a Aura, and they just called, okay, this is the Aura language which supports Lightning. Okay, on top of that, they came up with some few more concepts also, but again, it's the same problem. People who know the simple HTML and JavaScript, they can't understand this code. Okay. In 2017, what happened is web browsers are upgraded, like web stack methods are upgraded like anything, guys. They came up with a concept of web components. So whenever there is a web components means, that means you can create some components. So we will render the components. Our browsers can support and they can understand whatever the components you have written. So, but they have came up with the concept of decorators, and they have came up with a concept of templates. They have came up with a concept of shadow dam. Okay, whenever all these concepts are came up to the web browsers, okay, in 2019, whenever they came up with these things, then Salesforce has came up with a concept of lightning web components, because using these lightning web components, okay, it is completely following the same web standards, whatever they are supporting. Okay, it has its own data services. They just made a small modifications and they just made it as a lightning data services, so that you can contact to the Salesforce. Okay, and lightning components, they can came up with a lightning components, so that using that you can do the connect with the Salesforce. So in 2014, connecting with the Salesforce is not possible, guys. If you create the component separately, there is no way that, the features are not supporting web standard features. Web stack is not supporting all the features. But later on, there is a huge change in the web stack, especially it is allowing the web components and templates, shadow dam, decorators. You will see all these concepts in future, guys. Okay, so with these things, so we can communicate between HTML file with other systems. If it is a Salesforce, or if it is a like a Python or anything, AWS, whatever it is, your web stack is directly going to deal with the other systems. That upgrade was happened. That is the way Salesforce came up with the Lightning Web Components. Lightning Web Components is using the web stack completely. Here they are using the same web stack methodologies. So what is happening is, it's directly supportable, right? Whatever the things that we are using inside the Lightning Web Components, almost all the things directly supported by the browser. So that's the reason we can say that LWC is the browser compatible language, or browser compatible tags we are going to write. So in LWC, we are going to write browser compatible tags or browser understandable language. Whenever browser is able to understand the tags, whatever we are writing, then no need of conversions, right? So the performance got increased like anything. Previously, whatever the things which we are using, Aura and Visualforce pages, browser can't understand those concepts directly. You have to convert them into the browser understandable things, and then you need to do the process. But whereas in LWC components, browser can directly understand the concepts that which we are using inside the LWC. That's the reason performance is more high on LWC, guys. That's the reason LWC is the very successful product. Okay. So did you get at least a small idea on what is web stack? No RAS.
Yeah, somewhat better, Swarna, but not completely clear.
Yeah, because actually all these terminologies are very new for you guys. You will never, you don't heard it before. Okay, that's the reason you are feeling like that.
Yeah.
But you can understand only one thing. Our LWC components builds on web stack technologies, that is browser understandable technologies. Okay, that is the single terminology you can remember. So Lightning Web Components. So let me just tell you important notes to remember. LWC framework designed by WebStack Technologies. latest designed using latest web stack technology. So what is latest web stack technology? Latest web stack technology is latest web stack technology means which supports some templates, components, shadow DAM, decorators, modules. Like these are the few examples, and ECMAScript 7 version. Basically, these are the main keywords that you will learn in future classes, guys. But these are the things which supports in web stack technologies like templates, web components, shadow DOM, decorators, modules, ECMAScript 7. Okay. They will ask you what is the web standard scripting technology that we are using. That is nothing but the ECMAScript 7 web standards that we are using now. Okay. LWC also uses the same one. At least you can remember these things. That is fine. Then you will find out all these things, guys. In our later classes, you will find out what is template, what is web component, what is shadow DAM, decorators, modules. ECMAScript 7 is nothing but the simply version of that. Okay, supporting. Rest of the things you will get it. Okay. So if I go up, okay, this is what LWC is built directly on the web stack. Okay. So Aura components are built using HTML and JavaScript. That means they have built their own language which supports HTML and JavaScript. Okay, it's not directly built on the web stack, but LWC directly built on the web stack. That what is this means is Aura components, if you write some tag in background, they will convert that to HTML and JavaScript. Okay. That conversion process Salesforce team will take care. Okay. But here Salesforce team no need of convert anything. Directly the LWC components are, the framework is designed that using the direct browser understandable language. That is nothing but the web stack. Okay. That is the first thing, the framework difference they are telling. Aura versus LWC, the framework difference they are telling. That the first difference is the framework. This framework is designed using the web stack. So no need of middle conversion is required. But this is built on HTML and JavaScript. So Salesforce team have written the codes explicitly. Whenever some tag identifies, basically it will render into the HTML and JavaScript. So it requires a conversion time. Okay. And the second one is compatibility. Aura component cannot be used inside the LWC. This is again your interview question, guys. Can we call the LWC component? Can we call Aura component from LWC? Can we call Aura component from LWC? The thing is, no. From LWC, you cannot be used inside your Aura components, but LWC can be included in Aura components. But from Aura components, you can call the LWC components. But from the LWC, you cannot call the Aura components. Okay, that is your second difference. And the third difference is performance. LWC improves the performance, are much faster to deploy. That means it will load the pages very faster, guys. The reason is it is directly, the framework is directly designed using the web stack methodologies. Okay, Lightning components take longer to build and deliver. Lightning components take more time to load. Why? Because they have to do the conversion process in backend, because this framework is not, this code is not designed directly using web stack technologies. This code, they have used their own tags and own syntaxes, and those syntaxes they have written a separate code to render to browser understandable language. That's the reason it will take a lot of time. So performance is the third reason. Then platform dependency. LWC are natively supported in the browser and much knowledge of Salesforce is not required. Okay. Any people who know about the JavaScript and HTML, they can understand the LWC language, guys. Okay. If you are very comfortable with the JavaScript and HTML, then you no need of Salesforce. You can understand the complete code which is written in the LWC. Okay, but Aura code, not possible. They should have Salesforce knowledge to understand the Aura code. Okay, without Salesforce knowledge, if you go to the Aura code, you can't understand anything. Okay, but LWC code is not like that. LWC code you can understand if you have HTML and the JavaScript language. That is platform dependency, the another difference. And developer resources. You will need to utilize another integrated platform environment such as Visual Studio Code. Okay, so we have to use the VS Code to design the LWC components. You can edit or design the components in developer console. So Aura components can be created in the developer console also, whereas LWC components, they cannot create in the they cannot create directly using the developer console. You have to open up the Visual Studio Code. Okay, this is the another difference. And then data binding. The data binding between the components are property values is one way. Components is two way. So data binding is nothing but the guys sending the information from your JavaScript to HTML and HTML to JavaScript. Okay. So whenever you bind a value, right? Okay. In LWC, that is one way. Okay. But in Aura, it's a two way. That means if you change some value, then for example, at the page loading, you have given one value, right? If you change something, automatically it will set in Aura. But whereas in LWC, automatically it will not set. You have to explicitly set. Okay. Automatically it will not set the values. So it's a one way. And then communication. In LWC, you use Lightning message services to communicate. We are going to learn about this Lightning message services, guys. Okay. That means if we have multiple components, how do we do the communication? Okay. This is a separate concept which we are going to learn. Okay. In our application, communication between the components in different DOM hierarchies. Okay. This is the communication that we will discuss, and data binding also we will discuss. Okay, and modern JavaScript methodologies. Lightning Web Components JavaScript includes ECMAScript 7. Okay, and this is something like that. It supports more features, guys. In JavaScript, is becoming more powerful, more and more powerful in case of Lightning Web Components. But in case of Aura components, they were just used ES5 and EX6 syntaxes. So it was not supporting that much of powerful JavaScript technologies, that you can say. So the last thing, for your knowledge, you can just ignore it. But if you are comfortable with the first four things, or first framework, compatibility, performance. Okay, like framework, what framework we use, and compatibility. Compatibility is something you have to by heart, guys. That's it. From Aura, you can call LWC, but from LWC, you cannot call Aura components. That is compatibility. Then performance, that is nothing but the high performance LWC hash. Then platform dependency. LWC you can create from the Visual Studio Code, but Aura components you can create from the developer console also. And developer resources. Okay, platform dependency is nothing but the other one. Like if you have the, if you have the HTML and CSS, you can understand the LWC, but whereas Aura, you cannot understand like that. So first 5 things you can remember correctly, guys. Rest to data binding and communication, you will get to know in our later classes. Okay. These are the main differences between the Aura and LWC. Whenever they ask you the question, you have to explain about the at least 2 to 3 differences, guys. They don't expect you to explain about all these differences, but they expect you to explain about the 2 differences at least. And this compatibility is the one of your interview questions. They will ask you, can we call Aura from LWC? No. Then vice versa. Can we call LWC from Aura? Yes, we can call. LWC supports from Aura components. That's the reason, guys. Whenever there is that's the reason the Aura requirements are going off, because the component we are going to design always in the LWC. Okay, and we will use that component in the just Aura application. Okay, we are not going to build the Aura components. Why? Because if we build the Aura component, if you want to use it from the LWC, that is not possible. Okay, that's the reason we are always, nowadays, everybody is writing the code in LWC only. Okay. Yeah, I don't want to make much confusion for today, guys. Okay, but just try to go to these web stack and just try to remember these words. Okay, in later classes you will slowly understand about these words, but just try to remember these words and try to see what is the major difference between the Aura versus LWC. Okay, then in tomorrow's class I will explain you. I'll start with the LWC concept, guys. Like I'll explain you one by one file. Actually, today it was planned, but I thought it's better because everybody's mind is having this question, why we use LWC and why we need Aura. Like, I would like to give you clarity on that question. That's the reason I have explained all these things. But basic interview questions, they will ask you, what is the major difference between the Aura and LWC? Why we have to use LWC? Then we have to explain about these features. That's it. Nobody will ask you about the web stack technologies much, guys, but you should understand what is web stack technologies, what supports. Okay. Okay, then I need to stop the class because I have to jump off. Okay. Tomorrow I will explain about the each and every file which is present in the Lightning component bundle. Okay. Any questions? Okay, just a minute, guys. Let me just share this class notes with other people also. And also I'm sharing the recording of Visual Studio Code. So if you haven't set it up the Visual Studio Code and if you haven't created your first component, guys, please today, please try to finish that thing. Okay, I'm just sharing the recording. Okay, thank you all. Thank you so much. I can see one question. Okay. Yeah, these wordings you will get confusion, but just go through those images, guys. Just try to, for now, you can just try to by heart those words. Okay. Slowly, later classes, you can understand it. Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much. Bye.
Hello.
Yeah, hello.
సార్ నాకు ఫ్లోస్ టైప్స్ ఆఫ్ ఫ్లోస్ క్లాస్ పంపించావా?
పంపించాను టైప్స్ ఆఫ్ ఫ్లోస్.
ఇప్పుడు నిన్న పంపించావా?
నిన్న మార్నింగ్ షేర్ చేశాను.
ఓకే ఓకే, నేను చూస్తాను. నాకు రీఫ్రెష్ చేస్తే రాలేదులే, అందుకని అడుగుతున్నాను.
ఓకే ఓకే. టైప్స్ ఆఫ్ ఫ్లోస్, ఎలిమెంట్స్ ఆఫ్ ఫ్లోస్ రెండు పంపించాను.
ఓకే
ఓకే దెన్.